можливість. І величезне прохання вимкнути мікрофони. Ми з вами будемо спілкуватися, тоді ви зможете їх увімкнути. Щиро вдячна усім. Can you see the presentation? Yes, good.
Yes, we can.
Perfect. So, never trust anyone. Always question. And it's one of the most valuable pieces of advice I've ever received from my mentor at Cambridge Assessment. Not because trust is bad, but because questioning is better. And my goal today is very simple: to spark curiosity, or at the very least, to plant a seed of doubt, to make you pause and ask yourself whether things that we've been doing for a while perhaps can be done differently. And that's the very question I ask myself every time I attend a workshop by fellow educators. Today, I hope to inspire that same sense of wonder and reflection in you. How are we going to do that? We're going to take a closer look at the foundations of critical pedagogy. We're going to unpack what it truly means and how we first applied it at our first project, where we actually applied it at the Ukrainian Leadership Academy, and how we bring it into the class as part of a new Ukrainian school. For what our focus will be: using critical pedagogy to nurture transversal skills, naskrізні вміння, and make learning genuinely transformative. Raise your hand if you believe that you're not just teaching English. Or put a plus, drop a plus in our chat. Thank you. Raise your hand or drop a plus if you believe that you're not just teaching a language, but you're transforming a country. Awesome. And let me tell you this: the fact that you speak English means you already shape how your students see the world, and how they think, and how they act, and how they will act in the future. Your influence, how they see themselves in that world, is also what you do every day during every lesson. And more than that, you're helping shape the very world they will live in. So, is English a subject or a tool to reclaim identity or to make sense of the conflict and speak up about justice? That's exactly what we're going to talk today about. And the question I have for you, when you look at this picture, does it ring a bell? Have you ever heard this name, Paulo Freire? Again, if you can just give me thumbs up on your emoji, it'll be the best indicator for me that we're on the same page. It can be thumbs up or thumbs down. Okay, good. So This is Paulo Freire. And whenever I want to know what the person is like and their impact in our history, I always read the critical reception of the person. And Paulo Freire is widely seen as the founding father of critical pedagogy. And he is really famous for the links he made of education to democracy and critical citizenship. Bell Hooks admired his focus on the idea that education could be the practice of freedom in our class. And Stanley Aronovitz adds that not all oppression can be talked away, he's basically opposing him. And what is clear about it all, that Freire turned education and teaching English, in our case, into tools for freedom and justice, not just school subject. He took it beyond the status of a school subject. And this is important for us to understand at this particular point. We are change makers in our lessons. And whatever tools we choose, they are shaping not only the way we conduct our class, but what our country and our world will look tomorrow. Because we give the right words or the wrong words to the mouth of our learners. And they repeat them, and they'll keep repeating them from the high stages of the world. So that's what's important at this particular point, to remember and to realize each time we open the door to our class. Let's take a look at 5 core principles by Paulo Freire. I promise it'll be the last theoretical point in this workshop, then we get down to practice. But this is important to understand where we're going. So the first point is the dialogic education. Why it is important? Because we may be given the ready-made solution in our class. We may be providing our learners with a ready-made plan designed by us and by smart fellow methodologists in our course books. But we may take an alternative way, the road the least traveled. And critical pedagogy, rooted in the work of Paulo Freire, is not about teaching answers. It's not about feeding answers to our learners, but about teaching our students to ask better questions. This is what matters the most. And this is what guides me and my colleagues through the planning of our classes. How do I make my learners, my students, ask better questions? How do I frame my class in such a way that they're not fed the fast food knowledge, but they are given the right triggers to start thinking? And dialogue is about asking what is wrong in our world. How do we see it and how do we change it, basically? It turns the classroom into a space of dialogue where both teacher and student co-create meaning and find adequate answers. And when it comes to English, it's important to also involve critical consciousness, which is to not make our learners memorize, learn our words by heart, but create the awareness of our reality by giving them the right words to be talking about the reality and to empower them to stand strong, sometimes against it. And recently, I've been following a lot of discussions dedicated to education and to the role of a teacher in it. And I can see the different rhetoric towards whether education is a political notion or not. I believe, and it's my personal opinion here, this is a disclaimer, my personal opinion, that teaching and education is never neutral. Because if it were neutral, it means that there is no right or wrong, there is no black and white. Education is never neutral for me. And I believe that, again, In English, particularly during the English classes, having the exposure to authentic materials, to whatever we can read about Ukraine across the world, we have the tool, English, to give our learners the ability and to develop the ability to tell what is right and what is wrong, what is truth and what is propaganda, and to give them the tools to recognize it. That's why education is never neutral, it's political. And we have the access and the exposure to it during our classes with authentic materials we're using. And humanization through language. He says that oppression dehumanizes, as if there are no people who do the wrong things. Just like ephemeral Russia who invaded Ukraine, Russia, it's not people in Russia. There's just Russia, ephemeral state, ephemeral body that entered our country one night. The wrong things, they have their doers, they have their actors. And again, language used critically can restore the dignity and it can deprive us of it. It can give us hope and it can deprive us of hope. That are the five core principles by Paulo Freire. Sorry, could you please turn off your microphone? Thank you. Now we move on to the point that when it comes to English, we reach another layer, the global role of language. And is English something we need to copy, to imitate, or something that we shape globally alongside other actors in this field, other teachers, other countries who speak English just like we do? This is also an important topic to tackle. And I invite you to take a closer look at two concepts: English as a foreign language and English as a lingua franca. Give a thumbs up if you thought that they are synonyms till this very day. A spoiler is that I thought they were synonyms for quite a while since I graduated from the university. They were complete synonyms to me. So could you please give me a thumbs up if you believed that they're synonyms, or thumbs down if you could tell the difference? Yes, Tatiana, you raised your hand. Okay, so let's move on. So talking about those two notions, but by the way, would you like to comment on it? What might be the difference between them before I provide you with some ideas? Colleagues, hello. Let's talk a little bit, not to fall asleep in front of the cameras. So what might be the difference between two concepts, English as a lingua franca and English as a foreign language?
Maybe if I understand you correctly, maybe English as a foreign language is a language that we learn at school as maybe as German, as other language, and lingua franca maybe if I don't know if I understand it well. When people, for example, live in Italy and they are Bulgarian, Ukrainian, and they communicate in Italian altogether. And this is not their native language, but it's a common language for everyone that live in the same country.
Good one.
Good
guess. Good guess. Good guess. Any other options? Any other thoughts? Come on, let's talk more, guys. We can do it. Anyone who'd like to share? Okay, so yeah, I guess we're ready for some answers here. So it is quite an eye-opening experience for me to get to know that English as a foreign language That's what, by the way, that's what Olena said. That like what distinguishes it from lingua franca, that it's traditionally what we teach in school. Like this is the model, like this particular concept. It sees English as something that learners must, the keyword, imitate. It often privileges native speakers' norms, correctness, fluency, based on like either British or American standards. So basically in this framework, what is interesting, deviation is called an error and code switching is discouraged. And students feel that they're constantly measured against a model like a native speaker that for most is unreachable. So basically we lose motivation. I'll never speak like a native speaker, but do we really have to? And that's when we reconsider English as a foreign language towards the concept of English as a lingua franca or ELF, which acknowledges English as a global means of communication. That's exactly what Olena said. It is used by millions of non-native speakers worldwide to connect, to negotiate, to run a business, to collaborate. And the focus is made on our adaptability, clarity, intelligibility, not the way I speak like a British or like an American, and I feel inferior because my accent is not good enough to sound American. This is what really empowers our students. It says your accent, your idioms, your perspective, they belong in this language. We co-create English. And that's also important to communicate to our learners. Because since I got to know the difference between those two concepts, the dignity and the self-esteem of my both teenage and adult learners, it rocketed just because they realized I'm special just because I speak it. I'm not measured whether I'm a good or I'm reaching the point of being a native speaker or I'm still on my way to it. They are measured by the message they bring to the world, especially now when the kids are and the students are scattered all across the world. Especially now, it's important to communicate to them that your value is what you say in English, not how you say it, not with what accent you're saying it. Of course, fluency, of course, accuracy matters, but this is not the core in the world where English has to advocate for our country and communicate the meaningful things. And it's about identity and agency that we get when we treat English as a lingua franca, not just a foreign language trying to reach this sometimes unreachable standard. This is important to remember. And if you take a look at those three pictures, again, I ask you for the reaction. Are you familiar what UAL is? What Ukrainian Leadership Academy is? Are you familiar with what they do? Have you ever heard of them? Drop a plus or give me a thumbs up. If you'd like to share what you know about them, or you have the alumni from the Academy, share it with us as well. Okay. So there is a powerful educational program run by the Ukrainian Leadership Academy. Every year, as part of their curriculum, students prepare for the expeditions to the European countries, like the countries of EU. And what is special about it, that's one of the few projects when students see the real impact they make with their English. My team and I have been teaching English, well, teaching English according to our contract, the Academy, in all three branches across Ukraine for the last 6 years. And it went far beyond teaching. It gave us evidence for what we do and how we shape our world and how we shape Ukraine through that. Each year, our goal isn't just to teach English, but to prepare for the main event of the year, this expedition I'm talking about. And that's when our Ukrainian voice stands through English. And what's the biggest part of our syllabus as part of the academy is to develop answers to hard questions, is to develop strategies, how to confront disinformation, how to tell stories that humanize the war, that give the war faces of real people. And as one of our students put it, I just don't want to speak. I want to be heard. That was his motivation in the beginning of the academic year when we conducted the regular needs analysis, like, why would you like to attend this course? I want to be heard. And that's what we teachers do to our students. We help them choose the right words to be heard. And we won't help them turn facts into narratives and personal experience into advocacy campaigns. That's what critical pedagogy means in this particular context. When we just don't follow the script of the teacher's book, when we take the course book and make it work for us in the given circumstances in our reality. That's what critical pedagogy in action is when it comes to transforming printed reality into a real one. And I'd like to share the excerpt from the English syllabus at the Ukrainian Leadership Academy. And at this particular point, you might be thinking, oh, well, that's the academy. It's freer, it's more democratic, it's more flexible, not like a regular school I'm teaching in, not like a regular school bound by strict rules and standards. And that's a valid thought. That's a valid thought. But also, what I'd like to point that this particular label might stop us from asking a deeper question. What if this kind of impact, if possible, is possible in a regular school too? And on this point, I'd like to talk to you, and I'd like to hear your perception of what has already been said. The question is, do you believe that this kind of impact is possible in a regular new Ukrainian school you're teaching at? Let's talk. Hello, hello, Miss Yulia, we can hear you, but not your answer to the question, unfortunately. Okay, I'm not going to nominate, but if there is something you feel like sharing, it would be great to hear it. Do you believe that anything from critical pedagogy, the theory that we have just finished discussing, can be implemented in a state school, in a public school? Well, you may type your answer if you'd like. Oh, we also have a mother of UAL graduate. Thank you, Alena. Yes, okay, so yes, one more comment. Yes, we can. Miss Irina, thank you for your comment. Okay, so I guess we can move on. And those are the topics that we've been covering. And on this particular moment, I'd like to share this slide. And again, I'd like you to drop a plus if a full blast course book rings a bell to you. Okay, so well, I bet that you've heard of it and you've seen this course book before. And just a quick disclaimer, okay? It's not an advertising, I promise. No one paid me to show it. And I simply picked it from the official list of recommended course books for the new Ukrainian school English program. And at first glance, that's the unit, that the lesson unit, whatever you call it, dedicated to, well, completely neutral topic, just a standard lesson about the importance of sleep and what science says about it. But let's be honest, course books age much faster than ever, especially in our fast-changing world. And here's my question to you. How do we take a regular lesson like this and turn it into a critical one? If you feel like sharing would be great, if we had more time, I'll definitely break you into work groups and let you brainstorm for at least 5 or 10 minutes. I bet you've got tons of great ideas to bring to the table. But since we're short on time, I'll ask you to do the next best thing. Drop your thoughts in the chat, quickly and honestly, okay? We'll read them. Or if you feel like commenting, please raise your hand and we can discuss it. So what potentially can be done to turn this neutral lesson about the importance of sleep into a critical one? Again, I'll stop sharing and I'm ready to discuss it with you. Yes, okay. Set through provoking questions, elicit the language and work on it. Exactly, Alona, thank you. Thank you for your valuable ideas. What can we do to get enough sleep under the circumstances in our country? Yes, to ask thought-provoking questions, exactly. Some investigation, Miss Luba, if you could just comment more what kind of an investigation you mean would be awesome. Create a survey, a mind map. Perfect. Thank you, Christina. Thought-provoking survey. Yeah, perfect. Analyze it through asking others about their sleeping time and find the right answers on the internet and compare. We can ask students if they have any problems with sleeping or falling asleep. We can use open-ended questions. Yes, flipped lesson, create a problem and make them search it, the solutions, group work, discuss every point. To let the students to agree or disagree and prove their point. Good. Again, we remember, right, that in terms of critical pedagogy, we are talking about the issues we have in our world. And the way we are co-designing the ways how to tackle the issues that we have. And the notion of sleep, particularly related to our country and to our circumstances now related to war, might give us a deeper insight into the notion of sleep. So this is just a hint of where we might delve in this topic. To create unusual situations to help students to communicate without preparing. Yeah, that prior preparation might be also a good idea. But again, we are talking not only about tools, right? But I'm asking you for a helicopter view, what else in terms of a burning topic, a burning issue we can get from the notion of sleep? Let's brainstorm it. We barely sleep at night. The air sirens go off. We lack sleep. And if we just ignore this thing, it won't be probably true. We won't be honest enough. Because each day we wake up with a feeling of being exhausted because of the air sirens, because of the ballistic rocket attacks, and so on. And it would be really dishonest in relation to our students to ignore it. To create unusual situation. Thank you. Thank you so much for your amazing answers. Thank you. So those are some ideas that I have for you, how we can potentially deal with this lesson and implement 5 core principles by Freire in our lesson. So if we take a look at Freirand, remember, right, that he's the founding father of critical pedagogy. Those are the principles that come to life. And the real magic is still ahead. That's how we bridge theory and practice. So we've already discussed 5 principles, right? Dialogic reflection. So instead of just asking, do you enjoy sleeping? Which is a completely neutral question for the normal life conditions. We can ask, how has your sleep changed since the war began? And we can have a much deeper and meaningful discussion and honest discussion with our students. Where do you sleep during air raids? How do you help younger siblings or families stay calm at night? So we can turn it into a meaningful discussion of talking about things about the world that is around them, and being their mentor to guide them through these issues, being around, not ignoring the thing that, sorry, like we cannot be talking, we're going to talk about how sleep relates to our, what impact sleep has on our academic life when we are completely deprived of sleep. That would not be honest. This is not what authentic English teaching is about. Also, we remember the core principle that from neutral topic to problem posing, and it gives us a completely different perspective when we ask our students, like, what does it mean to rest when your country is under attack? How can sleep ever feel safe when sirens go off at night? So the level and the depth of these questions, of course, it's the subject to adjustment to the age group we're working with. This is the book designed for the 7th graders, which is, designed for not like little kids. But again, just because you're aware of your class, you're aware of your students, you know exactly what are the relevant questions to be asked to initiate this honest and critical discussion. Also, we talked about critical awareness, like what long-term effects does sleep deprivation have on children during wartime? And that's the very moment when they can Google it and when they can be exposed to authentic materials. Not talking about, do you often wake up feeling tired, but what do you do when you're tired? How do you help yourself rest when you know that the next time will be the air siren again? So we bring out the meaning to our class. And we talk about inequality in our class. We talk about the fact that it's not okay that we do not sleep at night. This is not fair. And that's when you bring the action into class. That's when you turn slightly political in the class, when you invite them to create a campaign, let children sleep, ideas for safety. That's just the ideas. You're free to adjust it to your class. Like that's when you can write a letter to the EU Council and explain how it feels to be a child, to not being sleeping enough, good enough at night. And that's how you turn English into a powerful tool. And that's when learning is not for the sake of learning. That's not when you're not teaching and feeding the ready-made solution to your students. But that's exactly when you turn English into action, when you grow the responsible citizen who's ready to react and who is not concerned by the fact that his English is not perfect. He knows that it's lingua franca, and as long as he's understood, he's empowered and he has the tool to fight and to deliver his message clearly. And humanization through language, the 5th core principle. Describe fear and resilience using emotional language. Talk about emotions, how you feel about it. How can you make yourself feel better? How can you support others? This is what the concept of sleep in our given circumstances looks like now. And that's what we embrace. That's not what we are trying to hide from. That's something we embrace and act. And this is the biggest value that we bring to our class. And when it comes to transversal skills, you can see, I've designed this table, you can see the clear line that underpins all of those three aspects. How we do it, how we realize that transversal skills as part of the obligatory school syllabus, and how the Freire's principle of critical pedagogy work in our particular context. And this is when real magic comes, because critical pedagogy, from what you can see now, isn't something distant or abstract. In fact, it aligns deeply with the core of the new Ukrainian school, especially with the focus on today's transversal skills, наскрізні вміння. That's how they relate to each other. So let's take a look at the table, and you can see it draws the clear connection between the principal, transversal skills, and kinds of activities that we can do. And what I can tell you as of now, that we can be waiting for the solutions to come from above, and they are important. But there is nothing less demotivating for every human being is to be deprived of the feeling that something depends on me in particular. And this is the little tool out of many more existing that you can start implementing here and now and bring meaning to your activity, bring meaning to your classes. And I'll be really happy to share this presentation with you all. This is just the few ideas that I've put into it. So please get back to me. Tell me what worked and what didn't, and what truly sparkled something in your students. That would be really, really valuable to know. And what is important, that we work with real Ukrainian students growing up in incredibly complex world. We are real Ukrainian teachers living in the country that stands and must be heard on the highest tribunes of the world. And I'm positive that it will be because of you, because of each of you, because each of us in every classroom, in every lesson, is carving not just grammar or vocabulary. We are learning, we're looking for the ways how to make every word count. And the very words that will be spoken in Ukraine's names and on Ukraine's behalf, that's us who carve these words. And never forget that. A lot depends on you. And whenever you open the door to the class, we are the ones who shape the voice, and the world will hear us through our students. And thank you, each of you who is on this mission. We will make Ukraine a better place, and each of us is in charge. Let's keep the dialogue going. Thank you so much. And to stay in touch, please follow the QR codes where you can share your feedback, your ideas, where we can continue our dialogue, because I believe that curious minds connect and make a difference. And we're all in charge, and we're all able, and we're all capable. Thank you. And I guess it's high time that we had this little test and finished our meeting. Дениса, ми можемо перейти на українську.
Так, дякую, бо я б не дотягнувся до вашого рівня. Друзі, давайте реакціями подякуємо пані Яні за цей неймовірний тренінг і за такі мотиваційні слова у кінці. Це було цінно. Вам у повідомленні в чаті зараз надіслано покликання на тест. Вам усім, хто хоче отримати сертифікати, його потрібно пройти. Ви можете це зробити не прямо зараз, ви можете зберегти собі це покликання і пройти протягом сьогоднішнього дня. А завтра вже, власне, ми цю форму закриємо і буду займатися тим, щоб конвертувати вам сертифікати.